right.
So you moved in that night?
Yeah.
Well, we had everything
Yeah.
down there, and we slept there that night. The next morning, we took our whole $225 and we went to the Dells in Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
But I had traded in Obadiah, the little 1928 Studebaker. And
Which had given up the ghost.
because yeah, it was giving up the ghost, the poor thing. And we bought a second-hand Chrysler.
It was the most beautiful car you ever want to see. The lines of it were gorgeous, you know, and it had the tires on the side like the Duesenberg, you know.
Oh,
It
yeah.
looked a lot like the Duesenberg, but a clunker.
It had shoes in the tires. And when we went along, it was boom, 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 because we couldn't afford to buy new tires. So we went all the way up to the Dells, and we stopped on the road. We had brought a hunk of that
Of the cake.
beautiful cake.
Yeah.
That was our lunch. And we drove all the way to the Dells in Wisconsin with that thing. And we stayed at a little place called the White House.
If you remember, Bob,
We brought you
Yes,
there.
I remember.
we went back to the White House.
And then at lunch was the first time that either one of us had tasted Rice Krispies.
You mean for breakfast?
For breakfast, yeah, for breakfast.
Yeah.
But it was nice. We went to the Indian show that they put on, and we went up and down the river, which eventually he got to pilot a boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we came back. By the time we came back, that Chrysler had it. So I think we traded that thing in for the Hudson.
Yeah.
For 1937 Hudson. That was a second-hand car also. And that had one of those pre-shifting deals, you know?
The vacuum assisted,
Yeah, an automatic clutch.
yeah.
That's the car we had when you were born.
I remember that car.
Yeah.
Right. And I had made a hammock.
Well, we had said when we first got married, we had said, as soon as we have all the furniture paid off and have $1,000 in the bank, then we'll start a family. Because $1,000 was a lot of money in those days. So 2
years it took
2.5 years.
to pay off the
We
$1,500.
reached our goal, and that's when we decided to go ahead and have a baby, who turned out to be Robert. And that was in 1939.
Now, Lola,
February
you were
27th.
working still at this time,
Oh, yes,
weren't you?
I was working. As a matter of fact, I worked right through till almost that Christmas, which would have been December. So when I went in to tell the boss I was quitting, he says, well, do you want more money? Is that why you're leaving? I says, no, I want to start a family. He says, well, in the meantime, you can still work. I says, I'm expecting next month. He says, where is it?
Here,
But where were you working then?
I was working at the Thorderson. They made, what was it, batteries and
Yeah, up on Chicago Avenue.
Chicago Avenue, yeah.
And I used to go pick her up every night.
Just about every night,
Yeah.
yeah.
I used to get off at 4 o'clock,
And I worked till
and
5.
she worked till 5, so I had an hour to get up there.
Were you an accountant there, a bookkeeper?
Yes. I did their payroll. I was the payroll.
800
Yeah.
people, I understand.
Wow, that's a lot.
I'm showing the pictures of me with your dad,
Oh, yeah.
with Lungo.
He was so proud of you. His first grandchild.
Here's the sad sack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And then there's some pictures of me with, I think it must be Augusta in the backyard.
Oh, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. That was your Nonna Augusta.
so when it came time for you to have the baby, did you go to a hospital or?
Yes.
Just like
Yes.
Aiden.
We had Dr. Mirabella is who had delivered me.
And me,
Really?
Yeah.
and my sister.
Yeah.
everybody in that neighborhood was Dr. Mirabella.
Yeah, everybody went to Dr. Mirabella.
Well, that was a night that,
But, yeah, that particular night that Bob was born, he wasn't feeling so good.
who, the doctor?
Yeah,
But
I
I didn't
guess.
know that.
Well, anywho,
I called him up and I said, it was about 9 o'clock in the evening. And he said, how close is it? I said, well, every couple of minutes. He said, get her to the hospital. Then when they're ready, when she's ready, I'll be there. So we brought her to the hospital. And she's in labor, you know, all the way through till almost 3 o'clock in the morning. And no doctor. So her mother was with me. So I went to the telephone and I called him up in his home. He said, don't worry about it, I'll be there. I said, she's in labor now. They want to take her to the room. I said, why the hell aren't you here? He said, don't worry about it, I'll be there. And so we're waiting and waiting, and finally the supervisor said, the hell with him. If he's not coming, I'll deliver the baby myself. So she wheeled her into the room, and just about then we see this big heavy guy coming off the elevator. And good morning, good morning.
Dr. Talia.
Talia, his name
the
was.
one who-
Talia means cut.
Yeah.
So, anyway, no sooner got into the room than I heard the yell, you know, this guy's yelling his head off.
Yeah.
And
It was perfectly normal birth.
came out, and about 5-10 minutes later, her cousin went in there for
He was born, and Dr. Talia said, you know, he says, who's here? He says, your cousin. We're going to have to slide you off and slide her
Nina.
on, which
Really?
yeah, which happened, and that's when Joyce was born. You were born 20 minutes apart.
Wow.
You were born at 3:45, and she was born at.
But Dr. Mirabella never did show up.
he never showed up, and the next day I went to see him. I was going to pay him, you know.
For what?
And I
Yeah.
bawled the hell out of him. I said, boy, I said, that was a damn dirty trick. He said, well, I was sick in bed. I said, why the hell did you tell me that?
Yeah.
So he charged me $50.
Yeah.
And he took care of the doctor that did the delivery.
Oh.
But that was quite a night.
That was, I think, at the hospital, I think it was something like $11 a day.
Something like, yeah, $11 a day. And I don't know what the operating
And
room.
Nina and I were in the, you know.
Oh, you were in the
two-bedroom.
same
The doctor
room.
took care of the
Yeah.
operating room and those
Two-bedroom.
days.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And they kept you there 10 days.
I was just gonna ask,
It
yeah.
was
10 days?
crazy. Yeah, and
Yeah.
not only that, you know, you could have gotten up and walked around,
Yeah.
right? No, they kept you flat on your back.
Yeah.
For 10 days, you weren't even allowed to get up to go to the bathroom.
What was the thinking behind
I
that?
don't know what their thinking was, because it was rather ridiculous, because the minute when I finally got to get up, I passed out because
Yeah.
I was so
Oh, yeah.
weak.
Of course.
This was at Mother Cabrini?
Yeah.
From
Well, that was the modern way,
Yeah,
fortunately.
and they kept saying, you know, take your
Yeah.
rest now, because,
And these were all nuns, these nurses,
Oh,
weren't
yeah.
they?
well,
Anyway,
they're nurses, but the nuns oversaw everything.
they were the boss.
They were the,
This guy kept
in the
yelling. He
office.
was crying all the time. Crying all day and night. And we went to Dr. Mirabella one day, and he took a sample of her milk
Uh-huh.
yeah.
and had it analyzed, and he came back and he says, there's no fat substance in there, you know. He's lacking this and that. He said, you give him 4 or 5
tablespoon.
drops of olive oil, and
No, a
that'll make up for
tablespoon,
the
he
fat.
said.
And I thought to myself, a 1-month-old kid, and I'm going to give him olive oil. So we had heard about this Dr. Levin, who had performed miracles for some kids in the neighborhood. He was a little, short, roly-poly Jewish doctor, but wonderful. Anyway, I called him up. And I told him, I said, look, we went to see our doctor, and he said to give the kid olive oil. Oh my God, he said, if you want to kill that kid, he said, go ahead and give the olive oil. Otherwise, bring him up here, I wanna see him. So we jumped in the car and up we went. He was way up on Toohey Avenue on Western Avenue. Devon.
How are you paying for all this? You didn't have any, there was no insurance to speak of at this
No.
time.
No insurance.
Of course, doctor's visits were only
Well,
about
like I
$5.
said, $50 for the birth, and I forget how we paid the hospital.
I
must
think
have
we had
paid
enough set, because it was, I think it was under $150 for the whole 10
It was
days.
a lot of money in those days, but anyway. So we took you and her up to Dr. Levin's office, and he just took one look at her, and he said, "This kid is starving to death."
Well, no, first he weighed him. Then he says, okay, now nurse him. So you nursed, and he weighed him again, and that's when he said, this kid's starving. That's what his trouble is. He's hungry. He
Yeah.
said, you just don't have enough milk for him. You
And
know?
she was exposed, and he kept going, "What do you think, you're a cow?" You know, he bouncing those things up and down. And she was so embarrassed.
Yeah.
And she was so full of milk, it was oozing out.
We thought, but he said, no, like in your, he says, he says, don't have any breast at all, but they have a large sponge, and that was my Aunt Viola.
Yeah.
Hers would flop across the room, and she had, wow, it was like a saucer with a raisin on it, and here I had these great big things, but he said, it's all, those are all muscle. There's no,
Oh,
Shut it off.
okay.
if I had known I was gonna be on thing, I would have had my hair done.
Yeah.
'Cause if it's
Maybe
like
you
this-
had your glasses off this morning, it was better.
Yeah, that's right, because
Yeah,
doesn't
but
it
it's all right.
reflect back?
No, this is good.
I think it might.
So anyway,
So the
Dr. Levin,
what did he prescribe then?
Well,
Since you-
Dr. Levin gave her a formula. We went home, she made it up, 8 ounces, right off the bat. He slept like a log.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
But somehow or other, he got mixed up day and night. So he'd sleep all day and up all night.
Oh, God.
Took a while to get them organized. Yeah.
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 But no more crying and yelling like that, you know. Only when we tried to put something of wool on him. Then he'd really scream bloody
yes.
murder.
I wasn't aware that he was allergic to wool, so naturally we had these lovely little wool things with Angora, which I had, you know, in the cap. And that, of course, is what I put on him to take him home from the hospital.
And was he screaming?
all the way home.
You think you heard screaming by Andrew?
He was a high C squealer too. He was really something else again.
So how long did you stay home before you went back to work?
Well, actually,
5 years.
I didn't go back to work till Bob went back to school.
Oh.
For a short, yeah, because my mother-in-law didn't want to watch it.
Babysit.
She wouldn't babysit.
She didn't want that.
The only one that ever
responsi-
babysat was my sister.
Yeah, and even my mother, very, very rarely did she babysit, and then she would get so panicky, and she
Anyway,
She didn't know
she got
how
stuck
to handle
with babysitting all the time.
yeah.
On a very, very rare occasion, Diana would stay, but she was too young, too small, you know. The hell was she? 10, 11, 12 years old.
About 12, 13.
Anyway.
Yeah. Of course, they used to love to stay when we go
Oh,
like
yeah,
to the
they'd
show.
have all their friends over.
Because then she'd have her bunch over, you know, Dana and Flora and so on, and they'd have a party. Of course, then the next day I'd have to clean the kitchen thoroughly. Stuff would have gotten on the walls, you know, but it was still worth just
So that
getting
you
out
could get out?
of an evening.
So actually,
yeah,
we didn't go anywhere
very much until he was about,
about 5 years old the
That
first
must
time
have
we
been
went.
kind of hard
yeah.
on the two
Really?
of you.
Yeah, because at that time, you didn't take small children, you know,
If you
anywhere.
went to a show and they started to cry, you had to leave.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it, but there's pictures of your honeymoon in here.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
And-
but at the
At the
Dells,
Dells,
we,
we even went horseback riding, I think.
absolutely. We did the whole bit.
Yeah. I think we were there 4 or 5 days.
That's all.
Something like that, yeah.
Well, we had to get back to work.
Yeah, because we were both working, and that was how we were able to pay off, and, because one salary got put away for paying off the furniture and savings.
There are pictures of Dad
Oh,
with
no.
Indian,
Oh, my gosh.
the camera's having a little trouble, folks. There we go.
An Indian headdress, and there's your mom in a teepee.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right. We had those Indian headdresses on, remember?
Oh, yeah.
When we went to the
Oh,
Indian
Oh, there's a
festival.
pinup girl.
Yeah.
So you
and
had
here's
about a
Mom in
week.
an Indian headdress.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
quite.
For a
I
honeymoon.
think it was 3 days. I think it
4
was 3
days.
days, yeah.
3 or 4 days, yeah.
Hmm.
But it was great. It was fun, you know, to eat out and to, and we did all the paddle wheel and,
You went horseback riding, I
Indian,
see.
show was when they sang Indian Love Call.
oh, yeah, off of Stand Rock, you know. That was very beautiful.
So,
Then we came back and it was work, work, work. Of course, you know, International Harvester, like my cousin said, Annie, part-time work. Because every once in a while they
Every
would
3 years
either-
there was a strike.
Yeah, every
Every
time
3 years.
the,
So this went on until about 1939, 1940, when they were going out on a strike again, and I was a setup man for Bill, and I was outside during the lunch period, and he came over and he said, you know, you don't get paid during a strike. So he says, we'd like to make you a second assistant foreman, so get you on the clock. This way you get paid during the strike. So he says, how about it? Well, a couple of times I turned it down.
were you in the union?
no,
Well, we started the union until the steward ran off with all the dues money, $800. It was a quarter a week.
but that was almost more a club than union.
No, that was supposed to be a union.
Oh.
But it was against the law to organize in those days. That was before CIO came in. And
UAW.
yeah, so
No, but anyway, that was when Bill thought it would be a good idea
Yeah,
for
that's
you
when
to
I got
become
put on managerial.
managerial, so that,
that was
because he knew that Dino didn't want to get into the union and get involved that
Oh,
way.
I didn't want to. I told him if I have to pay it in order to work, then you can have it. I don't want it. I didn't believe that a person should have to pay dues to work. That's blackmail.